Hi children, let us start with the CBSE English course book for 3rd standard A's with Easter. So now I'm going to read the second lesson. It's regarding the witches. It's the front page. Let's go into the story. Now that we have discussed about bad magicians, let us be a part of this storytelling session. The narrator's Norwegian grandmother tells the narrator, who is an 8-year-old boy, a tale that revolves around Norwegian witches, its black forest and icy mountains. It was in Norway, after celebrating Christmas at my grandmother's place, while my father and mother and I were driving in icy weather just north of Oslo, that our car skidded off the road and went tumbling down into the rocky ravine. My parents were killed. I was firmly strapped to the back seat and received only a cut on the forehead. I went back in my grandmother's house with her arms around me tight and both of us crying the whole night along. You will stay here with me, she said, and I will look after you. Am I not going back to England? No, she said. I could never do that. Heaven shall take my soul, but Norway shall keep my bones. The very next day, in order that we might both try to forget our great sadness, my grandmother started telling me stories. She was a wonderful storyteller, and I was enthralled by everything she told me. Skidded, slide sideways in an uncontrolled way, ravine, deep narrow valley with steep sides, enthralled, interested, attentive. But I didn't become excited really until she got onto the subject of witches. She was apparently a great expert on these creatures. Everything she was telling me about witches had actually happened, and I had better believe it. What was wrong? What was worse? What was far, far worse was that witches were still with us. They were all around us, and I had better believe that too. You must listen to me, my grandmother said. You must remember everything I tell you. After that, all you can do is cross your heart and pray to heaven and hope for the best. We were in the big living room of our house in Oslo, and I was ready for bed. The curtains were never drawn in that house, and through the windows I could see huge snowflakes falling slowly onto an outside world that was as black as tar. My grandmother was tremendously old and wrinkled. Myself, just 7 years old, was crouched on the floor at her feet, wearing pajamas, dressing gown, and slippers. Listen, she said, I have known no less than 5 children who have simply vanished off the face of this earth, never to be seen again. The witches took them. I still think you're just trying to forget 10 me, I said. I'm trying to make sure the I'm trying to make sure you don't go the same way, she said. I love you and I want you to stay with me. Tell me about the children who disappeared, I said. The first child I knew who disappeared, she said, was called Ragnhild Hansen. Ragnhild was about 8 at the time and she was playing with her little sister on the lawn. Their mother, who was baking bread in the kitchen, came outside for a breath of air. Where's Ragnhild? She asked. She went away with the tall lady, the little sister said. What tall lady? The mother said. Tar, a thick black sticky liquid that becomes hard when cold, obtained from coal and is used especially in making roads. Tremendously, hugely, crouched, put the body close to the ground by blending the legs and head. The tall lady is in white gloves, the little sister said. She took Ragnhild by the hand and led her away. No one, my grandmother said, ever saw Ragnhild again. What happened to the other 4 children? I asked. The second one was very peculiar, my grandmother said. There was a family called the Christiansens. They had an old oil painting in the living room, which they were very proud of. The painting showed some ducks in the yard outside a farmhouse. There were no people in the painting, just a flock of ducks on the grassy farmyard and the farmhouse in the background. Well, one day their daughter Solch came home from school eating an apple. She said a nice lady had given it to her on the street. The next morning little Solveig was not in her bed. Then all of a sudden her father shouted, there she is, that Solveig feeding the ducks. He was pointing at the oil painting, and sure enough Solveig was in it. She was standing in the farmyard in the act of throwing bread to the ducks out of a basket. The father rushed up to the painting and touched her, but that didn't help. She was simply a part of a painting, just a picture painted on the canvas. That's two you told me about, I said. What happened to the third one? The third one was little Birgit Savson, my grandmother said. One day she started growing feathers all over her body. Within a month, she had turned into a large white chicken. Her parents kept her for years in a pen in the garden. She even laid eggs. What colors eggs? I said. Peculiar, strange, unfamiliar, or a little surprising. Oil painting. A picture painted with oil paints. Canvas. Piece of cloth a painting is made on. Pen. Here. A small piece of land enclosed by a fence to keep farm animals in. Brown ones, my grandmother said. What happened to the fourth child? I asked. The fourth was a boy called Harald, my grandmother said. One morning his skin went all greyish yellow, It became hard and crackly like the shell of a nut. By evening, the boy had turned to stone. Stone? I said. You mean real stone? Granite, she said. Go on, Grandmama, I said. You told me there were 5 altogether. What happened to the last one? What about number 5, Grandmama? Number 5, she said, was rather an interesting case. A 9-year-old boy called Leif was summer holidaying with his family on the Jord, and the whole family was picnicking and swimming off some rocks on one of those little islands. Young Leif divided into the water, and his father, who was watching him, noticed that he stayed under for an unusually long time. When he came to the surface at last, he wasn't Leif anymore. He was a porpoise. But wasn't there a most tremendous fuss when this happened? I asked. No much. My grandmother said, you must remember that here is Norway. We are used to that sort of things. There are witches everywhere. There's probably one living in our street this very moment. It's time you went to bed. Granite, very hard grey rock used in buildings. Jord, narrow area of sea between high cliffs. Porpoise, a sea animal that looks similar to a dolphin. A witch wouldn't come in through my window in the night, would she? I asked, quacking a little. No, my grandmother said. A witch will never do silly things like climbing up drain pipings or breaking into people's house. You'll be quite safe in your bed. Come along, I'll tuck you in. It's a very good story.